there, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angie and I'm a chemist who loves makeup. So today we're going to talk about in the recent change in the Morphe x Jaclyn Hill Original Palette Formulation. I first found out about this from JenluvsReview's video where she went through the changes in formula from the original 2017 iteration to her friend's 2020 iteration of the palette with a different formula listing, and someone on Jen's Twitter even shared a photo of her palette which she got in 2018, which was a different version of this. And Jen reached out to Morphe and they told her the formula did not change. They have since followed up and said that it did change. We are going to break down what actually changed. We're going to go through what was removed from the formula, what was added to the formula, one of which has caused the most stir, which is the addition of Carmine, which makes this formula no longer vegan. So we're going to talk about my thoughts on why they changed the formula, my thoughts on the whole reformulation, my thoughts on the whole 3 different formulas. For the 2020 version I'm comparing to, I'm going off of Ulta's website, and for the 2017 version I'm comparing to, I'm actually going off of the box that I have from my own palette that I got on the very initial first launch. I'm going to type out into the description box what it says here. If you want me to share a picture of it on my Twitter or something, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll be more than happy to do that. It's just a little hard to see in a video. So the first ingredient that was removed was Dimethicone. This is the 4th ingredient. It's the first ingredient that comes after the base powder ingredients. This may be used as what's helped to press the eyeshadow, a liquid binder, and it will be used in combination with an oil or with alcohol. And dimethicone is going to help improve the slip, meaning its ability to spread evenly when you apply it. The second ingredient that got removed is kaolin. Kaolin is a clay that is used as a base powder or a filler ingredient as people like to call it. Kaolin is really opaque, which is really good when you're trying to create really pigmented eyeshadows. It is also very absorbent of oils. It is also very adhesive, meaning it's going to help, which is going to help the eyeshadow stick to the eye. The next ingredient that got removed is Octyldodecyl stearate, and this is also going to be a part of the liquid binder, meaning it's used to help press the eyeshadow, and this is going to help form a barrier on the skin. The next ingredient that got removed, I'm going to have to read this, is polymethylsilicate oxide, and this is a silicone, so it's going to help absorb sebum, oil on your skin, enhances water repellency, is also really good for slip, really similar to dimethicone, and has anti-caking properties, and it also has a really nice, smooth, silky feeling when you apply it to the skin. So this is going to help not only enhance the spreadability, but is also going to give a nice soft feeling to the shadow. So the rest are colors that got removed. So the first one is hydrated chromium oxide. This is a green color. The next is ferrocyanide, which is a blue color, and manganese violet, which is a purple color. So now we're going to go into what was added and if these are going to replace the things that they removed from the formula. So the first one is synthetic fluorofluorogopite. So this is what you would call synthetic mica. This is made in a lab. This is basically synthetic mica. This is what you will use as an alternative to mica. So as far as I'm aware, if you see something that says mica on the ingredients list, that means that it is naturally sourced mica. It would have to say synthetic mica or synthetic fluorofluorogopite to be synthetic. But I don't even think I've ever seen synthetic mica as a listing. I think I've always seen it as synthetic fluorofluorogopite. The benefits of being synthetic, other than ethical concerns, is that you have greater control over contaminants, first of all, and the particle size and structure of the powder. Because a concern in mica is the particle size can't be too big. Bigger particle sizes are going to yield a more glittery effect, but the problem is you can't get them too big in natural mica, or it can cause eye irritation. So the synthetic fluorofluorogopite, you'll see it in a lot of very shimmery, glittery looking eyeshadows because they are able to control the particle size and how the shape of it is, so they can get a larger size and not have such a jagged structure to it. In natural mica, you have to grind it down enough to where it's not going to cause eye irritation. And then by doing that, you lose some of the reflective properties because the particle size is getting smaller. So this can not only replace the kaolin, so this is a replacement for kaolin and talc as a base powder. And in the initial formula of this palette, talc was present in all all of them, whereas now you'll only see Talc listed in the matte shade. And this is gonna have better adhesion than Talc would, will probably not have better adhesion than Kaolin. So you may notice a difference because the base ingredients are different. So speaking of things that are only in matte shadows, methyl mecacrylate cross polymer was added to only the matte eyeshadows. And this acts as a film former, which will also help mattify. So I'm guessing that this will help retain that matte quality to the formula, because now these shadows are mica based. In the matte shadows, mica is listed as the first ingredient, so mica is the main ingredient, whereas before on the shadows, Talc was listed as the first ingredient. Usually mica is known to have a more sparkly effect, so maybe by adding these, this helps tone down the sparkle a little bit. The next ingredient that got added is Magnesium Myristate, and this is gonna also act as a slip modifier such as Dimethicone, as well as the other silicone did in the original formulation. Boron nitride was also added, and it is going to help with slip as well as adhesion. This is a very common ingredient in eyeshadows. You'll see it in most eyeshadows. When adhesion was lost due to removal of kaolin, this can be added, and it can help that adhesion property. Polyethylene can be added to help keep a compressed cake together, aka the eyeshadow. It can also help increase the oil layer in a mixture, so maybe it is also used to help press the formula as well, and maybe can help replace that Octyldodecyl sterile stearate. Tin oxide was only added in 2 sets of the eyeshadows, 2 of the shimmer shadows, and this can help opacify the formula. Maybe if opacity was lost due to removal of kaolin, this can be added to help re-opacify that formula. 3 ingredients that stood out as being added were jojoba oil and coconut oil, and I believe these are also a part of the liquid binder to help press eyeshadows. These are very common natural things to add to help press eyeshadow. Other ingredient was also shea butter that was added, and this is also going to help with adhesion of that eyeshadow. And that brings us to the next ingredient, which is tocylferol acetate or vitamin E. So this is not going to replace anything in the original formula, but it has to be added because you have shea butter, jojoba oil, coconut oil. So these 3 things are known to go rancid, and by adding the tocylferol acetate, that is going to prevent that. So lastly, that's going to bring us to the colorant. So we know they removed one of the greens, we know they removed the blue, and we know they removed the violet. So now they have added Carmine into this formula. So Carmine is derived from a specific beetle to give the red color, and I think this was probably the biggest deal. So the initial formula was vegan. By adding this makes the formula not vegan, and that upset a lot of people, and it seems that this was partially used to help replace that manganese violet since it is a purple, so adding the red in combination with the other blue colors get you that violet color that you need. This doesn't mean that the product isn't cruelty-free anymore. Cruelty-free means not tested on animals, or there's no chance of it being tested on animals. Most companies don't do it anyway. It basically is kind of a way to say we don't sell in China. In China, it is likely that the product was tested on animals due to regulations they have there. So this product is still cruelty-free, but it is not vegan. The only other colorant that was added was black 2, and the only reason I could think that they would add this is because it would help deepen that dark black shade in the corner, maybe to a couple of the other deep shades, so maybe the removal of some of those other ingredients, they needed this. So like I said, there was somebody who under Jen Loves tweet about this palette shared a 2018 version she had, which looked very similar to the original formulation, but kaolin was bumped way down on the list, and there was the addition of Carmine. So with the Vault collection, in the initial launch that they had at that Las Vegas Morphe store, they actually removed kaolin at that point, and that's when people said that they didn't really like the formula. I made a video about it. I'll link it up above if you want to watch it. And I'm wondering if they were experimenting with the removal of kaolin, and that's why this version had it bumped so far down the list, to see if anybody said anything about it possibly. That 2018 version, like I said, did have Carmine, so maybe they were experimenting with starting to remove some of that manganese violet and replacing it with Carmine and another colorant. So what are my thoughts on this reformulation? So I think because there's multiple versions of this palette, I highly doubt that Jaclyn was sitting there approving all 35 shades every time they wanted to change something. It was probably just Morphe's team testing it out themselves and saying, yes, this is good enough. Reformulations are way more common than people are probably aware. They can happen for a variety of reasons. Either a common one is regulation changes to where ingredients have to be substituted or lessened due to levels of contaminants and whatnot, especially for brands operating on a global level because things change around the world all the time. Maybe the quantity of raw materials they need, they can't meet demand from suppliers, possibly because we have to also remember this was supposed to be a limited edition palette. With the instance of Manganese Violet, maybe initially they could get it from the supplier for a while, but maybe now the supplier can't keep up with that demand. So they have to substitute it with something else. Maybe they slowly started to incorporate the Carmine until they felt that the color was the same. The last reason for the change might be because they decided to change manufacturers for the same reason I listed earlier. This was supposed to be a limited edition palette, and now it has become a permanent fixture in the Morphe line. Let's say they developed the formula with this manufacturer. Maybe the manufacturer has an agreement that this formula belongs to them. If Morphe were to try to go to another manufacturer, they could not take this formula with them. A lot of the ingredients are going to be the same. Talc, mica, a lot of the other kind of ingredients are going to be very common throughout a lot of eyeshadows. Where we see the biggest difference is their jojoba oil, shea butter, that kind of thing, and maybe these are very common to this other manufacturer and their pressing method. So if that was the case, they would use that pressing method and kind of work with that manufacturer to get a formula that they think is similar. So maybe they had a contract with these people to produce them, and either that manufacturer couldn't keep up with the demand they got, or maybe that manufacturer had a better business deal for them with some other company. We just don't really know what happened behind the scenes. So when Jen contacted Morphe through email, they said they did not reformulate. But then I'm going to read you what Tridecyl posted in a comment underneath one of Morphe's pictures. I'll link to the original tweet down below and post a picture. So this claimed, we know there was previous incorrect communications about our original Jaclyn palette formulas, and we wanted to clarify. Sometimes we reformulate things we already have in our lineup to ensure you get super pigmented, serious, creamly, and blendable shades you heart love, now infused with jojoba, coconut butter, and shea butter. For me, I don't really like how they framed this, because I don't think they should have framed it as, oh, we infused it with these, because A, that probably doesn't make much of a difference in the quality of formula anyway. They didn't intentionally go about to be like, we want these in the formula. And also that they did it to improve the formula, because people already like the formula. You don't fix what ain't broke. Some other reason it had to change, whether it be because to cut costs, whether it be because of the manufacturer supplier issue I mentioned. So reformulation is a very common thing, and as best as companies try not to deviate from the original formula if people really liked it, there are reasons why it gets reformulated, and that's just how it is, especially products that are around for years and years and years. And sometimes you just need to reformulate things without calling it a whole new product. So for Morphe to change the formula, it is unfortunate that people are noticing the difference, and it is unfortunate that they added something that changes the fact that it's vegan. I wouldn't crucify them for reformulating, but they also need to be honest when these changes do happen, because when you look at the ingredients list, it is a different formula. Typically the answer when asked if reformulating companies will say, reformulations happen from time to time, please refer to packaging for the most accurate ingredient listing. That is how I would have framed it if I were them. And it is really unfortunate that with these reformulations that people have noticed a difference. Obviously, I haven't repurchased this palette, so I haven't noticed a difference. Yeah, so if Morphe is to do another reformulation, hopefully they take that into account and try to kind of adjust the formula to make it more like what it was like before. If you learned something today, don't forget to click the like button and make sure you subscribe, so that way you will be notified when there's new videos that we talk about makeup and skincare and the science behind them. And with that, I will see you in my next video.